Pruning is necessary, unfortunately. It's not fun. We all know that pruning is not fun. I took the approach of trying to run away from pruning and complaining all the time, and I see how that got me nowhere. The Lord actually will show you the benefits of what the pruning process does bring. So, let's talk about it, baby. So, let's talk 5 things that I have learned this year from the Lord. It is NYE, guys. New York. Yeah. Maybe one day I will spend my New Year's in New York. We're getting ready for church. It's been a while since I've done a makeup get ready with me, so I'm actually excited to do this. I've done my hair. This isn't staying, as you can see. And I did a cheeky ponytail at the back with my leopard print scrunchie. I'm actually supposed to leave in 30 minutes, but I currently have my boo-boo on and I have no makeup on, and I have to do this video. And community. What has community not given me? One of the top players in my 2024, in my life. There's so much that I cannot do alone that has been exposed to me this year, and my independent self. Sorry, my eyelash is poking me, and then on top of that, the Topicals mask kind of like stretches your face. I feel like I literally feel like I have Botox, but God forbid. Community has provided me language in ways that I cannot provide language for myself. Something the Lord taught me this year is that He likes to speak a lot through people. I think I found in moments of frustration with the Lord where I would kind of just be like, you actually are airing me, like you are not talking to me, in my own quiet time, and I would feel like I'd hear crickets. I would speak to people, and all of a sudden the Holy Spirit is becoming, sorry, I'm covering my face, is becoming a talkative, and I'm like, whoa, hello. And I think, this is my perspective is so important, because at first I was like getting really angry and annoyed, because I was like, you're using me as a project. You only speak when I'm talking to other people, about other people, or anybody's asking for help. But when it comes to my own situations, you're silent. I was just getting angry, and I was like, that is so mean of you. But in Him changing my perspective and having mercy on me and my behaviour, God have mercy on us all. Oh, that's a really nice car. Don't we think that's really cute? Also, how well does the brown and the pink go together? Like, this is great. I'm seeing it in the light, and I'm like, this is so good. In terms of what's on my face, I just thought, why don't I do that? Because I actually do love that side of being an influencer, just telling you what I wear, what I have. And I know I did that in my other makeup get ready with me when I was 20 years old, and I'm 23. Wow, that's a whole other video. Anyway, me being 23, literally 4 days ago. I have the Topicals eye mask, as you can obviously see. The wig is from Sealy Hair. It's glueless. It's really good. Still trying to figure it out. I just used mousse and spirits. That's what I used. My lashes are clusters from Amazon, which I did myself, and they're currently poking my eye. That's my own fault. My boo-boo is from my mum's wardrobe. Yeah. My earrings are from Ninja. I can't remember how you say it. Really, really great, and it's lasted me so long. I shower with it sometimes, and it's like perfect. It's not real gold, but it does the job. This thing wants to lift. I can feel it, even though it's not stuck down, it's still. Anyway, I'm using the Kiehl's facial cream and Laura Mercier primer still. Look at how cute this is. This is what we got at the wedding. It is so beautiful. It's just such a girl thing to have, such a girl thing. The perspective the Lord gave me instead was that, number one, I actually do speak to you through people if you would just listen. Through conversations, He showed me that instead of you trying to think about how I'm only helping this person, you should actually see deeper and realize that a lot of this is actually going to help you. Maybe not in the current season, but definitely at some point. So if you was just to hold on to these words that I said, you'd realize it is relevant. That's number one. And number two, also it just the aspect of like remaining selfless and realizing that a lot of what you do anyways and what you have within you and your gifts and everything is actually for people anyways. It's not actually about you. And the other thing was that, two new finds: the Made by Mitchell Blurish Balm in Shade and Laid, and the Ken Beauty concealer in Ginger Snap, which is so good. So yeah, the other thing is that, like, to consider it a natural privilege that the Lord would actually speak to you about people, and the Lord is like still speaking in that way, is something to actually, yeah, consider a privilege basically. Community in many ways has shaped me this year and also humbled me in the aspect of reminding me, especially in my recent staycation for my birthday, I have seen that the Lord has shown me there's so much you don't know because you are not drawing from the community that I've given you. And I think it reminded me of the times that I was at Warwick, where I realized that I genuinely was being stirred a lot by the people around me. And I think it just goes to show that humility will show you that you cannot continue the walk with Christ alone. And many parts of this year I have done it alone, out of fear, out of isolation, just basic lies of the enemy that were implanted in me, telling me that I don't have people and that I just literally cannot talk to anybody about my life and my struggles, which I'm obviously debunking in this moment and time. But at the time I couldn't see it because I was just so shattered, so isolated, so frustrated, so sad, honestly very sad. Yeah, in the strength of the Lord and in his joy, which is my strength, I've been able to see that, wow, like, you need to talk to these people because they are literally your lifeline at some points, and also they have some of the greatest wisdom I've ever had in my entire life. And if the Lord has put them in my lives, then honestly must be using that for sure. Yeah, just that kind of humility that you need some of these people to survive, because some of the things they say will really just put things into perspective for you in ways that you couldn't because your mind was kind of clogged, which just happens in life anyways, which is why we just actually need to rely on people. Come on now, Stormy. Actually, I want to use the other brush. Being around people has shown me different facets of God and the way that he can love as well. I think besides a relationship, friendship is the closest representation of the love of Jesus Christ in person form, because there's a level of commitment that's supposed to be there. There's a level of honesty and pushing through, even if there's like things like arguments or disagreements, stuff like that. And there's an element of just sticking it out even when you're just like mad at the person, like, you know, when you're mad at God, or you're because it is possible to be mad at God, or you're just upset and not understanding why they're doing something. You learn to like approach them and talk to them about it rather than avoid them. Those are all things that you can take into your relationship with God so that you don't lead a toxic relationship with God, because that is also possible too. Yeah, it's honestly great. They are the joy. I don't think what's necessary is being distracted from your problems. I think it's more so giving perspective to your problems, and I think that's what they can give. When we say iron sharpens iron in the book of Proverbs, they can sharpen your like spiritual understanding, they can sharpen your knowledge of self and identity, they can sharpen even your physical self. Like, for example, like, you can have a friend that keeps you accountable for something, whether it's to do with your diet, your health, fasting, going to the gym, all of these things that you may not be able to hold yourself accountable to. I think sometimes when we put somebody else involved, there's almost a small embarrassment that's like, if I don't do this, or you also feel like, because I could be wasting this person's time by not doing this, so you kind of pick yourself up a bit in a way that you wouldn't have if you was doing it yourself. The second thing I learned is Audacity, not to its fullest extent, but I'm going to explain why. Exploring and just the fact that there's more to life. A big part of this that was discovered from my time in California, which was honestly the highlight of my year. I think in terms of Audacity, the most audacious thing I did was literally like book that flight to California and say, I'm going on this mission school thing that I heard simply based on word of mouth. I don't know anyone that's going to be there. I've never been to America, never left Europe, don't know what the heck is there. literally going blindly and expecting someone to pick me up at the airport after an 11-hour flight. Like, that was literally my vibe as a young 22-year-old babe. Honestly, taking on the big LA alone as well, it's like, wow, because I did spend a couple of days alone there too. I think it opened my eyes to the idea that life in one culture is not life lived. Life in one culture is simply a category of something that you've experienced, but you have not exhausted what the Lord has created. And I think to come outside of culture, experience number one, faith, outside of what you're used to, outside of your church, outside of your ministry or community, is such a gift. Honestly, the cherry on top is making lifelong friends like I have. That was only by the mercy of God. But even just to experience it, even without that, like would still be a gift in itself, because I think just learning how Americans worship, how Americans are, I think one thing I took from them is that they're very thankful, which is interesting because, you know, Western world, well, they have a lot for themselves. They have a lot, like, in the sense of they're privileged. Even if you are a lower or middle class person, you are still kind of privileged. I mean, you wake up and you see a sun and palm trees. There's some privilege there. It's not cheap to live in. We were in Orange County specifically, which is one of the most wealthiest places in literally California. But it's like to see that they are still kind of like a thankful bunch. They also have a lot of joy. I do think part of that is because they actually seem to have a good living standard. In comparison to other places or countries and stuff. So there is an element of joy that you don't find here in the UK. People smile at you, people are really nice, like, in general. So even when it came to evangelizing, it wasn't as hard because people aren't just like looking at you like that. They're like, my gosh, hey. And I'm like, hey. I think it's also great to get out of regular routine in general. Not just like, because guys, I feel like with holidays, especially with Black people, it's like this itinerary of all the things we must do in this time that we're here, and you end up exhausted, and it's like it's not holiday because you're exhausted by the time you come back. And I think that is actually not the point. Obviously, I know money can be a big facet as to why we cannot always enjoy things for a longer period of time, and also like just time off work, you may not be able to get that privilege. But I think if we was to change our mindset in the sense that when we are going outside of our culture to explore rather than to get every single possible thing done, that we barely remember what we did because like we were so occupied doing it instead of actually reflecting in the moment, then you'll realize that you enjoy it a lot more. And I think I enjoyed Circuit Riders and California because of that, because it was a daily routine that was calm and chill, even though we were really tired, but it was calm and chill, and it was like living there rather than hop, skip, jumping from each place to place. I didn't feel like that at all. I felt like I lived there, literally. And it gave me that taste of what it's like living in another country, which also is important for me and was important for me to experience in this time where it's like, you know, I could do anything with my life. I have that choice by the grace of God. I'm not bound to where I am currently. I'm using the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop. This is also new and it really does the job. I must say, it does the job. So I think it pushed me even more to want to travel so much, honestly. I know money is currently a barrier, but I don't want it to be a barrier if I feel like I can just do it. Like, it's a barrier in terms of me just not having the most in the world, but it's not a barrier in terms of the fact that I can't actually go, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's the case with a lot of us. In terms of audacity, and I was saying earlier that I don't think I was the most audacious that I could have been, even though it's something that I preached and said that I wanted to do this year. I think it was generally just that fear that was holding me back, and I didn't realize how much it was. I think I was lacking a self-awareness in that area in terms of how fear was literally gripping and crippling me and stopping me from doing other audacious things that I could have potentially done, that it has now literally become a new prayer point for the year ahead. And I believe and trust that the Lord will perfect that, because it's a big part of his plan. The third thing that I learned is that pruning is necessary. I'm using the Chem Beauty powder in, what is it, in pecan pie. It's so good. It actually does the job. That's the tea. Pruning is necessary, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because it's not fun. We all know that pruning is not fun. It's literally refiner's fire. Like gold put back in constantly until it looks like gold. And I think it's just that process that I have experienced this year, where I feel like I'm learning the same things, and I'm like, God, like, this is so annoying and so repetitive, but it's like until you come out like gold, then you keep getting put back in. But it's out of love, not out of hatred. Or like, God cannot hate you, he created you, but he wants you to look like him, because he knows that the more you look like yourself, the more you lead yourself to destruction and sin, because the wages of sin is death. And in dying to self, you are literally asking to be pruned into his image, which means that the refiner's fire is unfortunately quite familiar with us in our lives. This year I took the approach of trying to run away from pruning and complaining all the time, and I see how that got me nowhere, literally. And also I see how I cannot escape the will of God because I'm the only person that can escape it, and I see what it is like to escape the will of God. It's actually the worst thing in the world, and it doesn't feel nice. It feels worse than if you was to stay in the will of God, so it's better to stay in the will of God. I see that it's necessary for character growth, and I think once you begin to see, because the Lord actually will show you the benefits of what the pruning process does bring, it won't just be like, I'm putting this on you for the sake of putting this on you. God doesn't allow any kind of suffering for the sake of you just suffering. That's absolutely cruel. He would never do that. Everything is for purpose. Pain is for purpose, for a specific vital reason for my growth as a person, as a woman, and somebody who's trying to step into her calling. And though I may not understand the depth of my calling, I think the pruning process gives you some idea. But I think also pruning is an act of faith, or allowing yourself to be pruned as an act of faith, because you realize that you don't know the full extent of your picture or the story that the Lord is creating, but you trust in the fact that the pruning that he is doing in you is necessary, despite the fact that it feels like it is a lot and it feels like you cannot push to the end, especially because you don't know the reason for it. If you act in faith, the Lord generally does reward the fact that you are literally deciding to go through what the process of pruning that he's doing within you, despite the fact that you do not know the reason for it being done. That's my blush, and then I'm gonna also blend it into my eyes, because recently I've just been liking the sunset glow vibe over my eyes. Okay, I just sprayed with this and lined my underline with black liner. I feel like I'm going quickly, but I also wanted to keep this quite compact. I would say the fourth thing is to protect your perception of God, because that's something that the enemy's after. He's after how you perceive God. He wants you to not perceive God as the God of the Bible, as the God who he says he is. He wants you not to perceive God as Yahweh, as the I am that I am. He will do everything he can to not make you perceive him as otherwise, as your enemy, as a tyrant, as whatever word it is that is contrary to the word of God, which is why you have to keep your guard up and be a watchman. So, let's talk about it, baby. I'd say have core voices in your life, which goes back to the community thing. And I think the reason I said that is mainly because your perception can also be tainted by Christian people, because there's a lot of voices in the world, and I think the more voices you allow in, the more clogged your mind gets with understanding who God is. And it doesn't necessarily mean that some of those voices are wrong, because I'm also a person who talks about Christianity, but I think it's just that people can say a lot of different things that you may misinterpret, or that you may just assume different opinions of, that kind of takes away the simplicity of who God is. Like, he's complex, but he's also simple, in the sense that he's given us everything we need for life and godliness. He's given us everything we need to understand him. So if you're complicating it, then if you're complicating it, then there's the problem there. But then he's beyond what we could imagine. But it doesn't mean that what the manual he's given us is something that we cannot understand by the Spirit of God, because he wouldn't have given it to us if we couldn't understand it by the Spirit of God. Do you know what I mean? So I'd say core voices, like obviously when you think of the pyramid, the top should be the Spirit of God. That's who you should speak to, and then it should be people who you are close to and proximate with, people who are actually in your life rather than people who you see online. So whether that is, I think I spoke about this in my last video, whether it's your family or core friends, and then you can have like people you listen to online and stuff, but they cannot like pastor you. You should, have your own church and everything, because you don't know them. You don't know where they're from, you don't know what they do in their daily lives. You can't walk with them and follow them. The disciples followed Jesus. They didn't just come to listen to his sermons and go home. They saw how he lived, and I think you need people who you can see how they live, which is why, like, I just refer to the staycation that I've just done. I was able to live with my friends, even though I also live with them at uni, some of them, but like I was able to live with them and see how they operate in the morning, operate in the afternoon, operate in the evening, when they cook, when they read their Bible, when they pray, when they're listening to music, when they're just talking to a friend, which you can't see with somebody online. The people who have formed my perception of God are my friends. For example, I think my friends, especially the ones that I was with on the weekend, help me revere God. They help me recognize that it is important to fear him and respect him. But then they also help me understand his love and the fact that he's patient and he's kind and that he's very much a present help. I really wanted to share my lip combo because I really love it. I started doing it on Christmas. It's this brownie, like it's like a reddish shade from Primark. And then I use a very worn out dark eyebrow liner. Just make it darker. Yeah, just like that. I've done every part of this. I need to do my mascara actually. And then I use this new, where are you? I use this YSL Love Shine in like reddish color. And it's so nice. Because it's not like a direct red and it's not a lipstick, it's like a shiny balm that's actually moisturizing. Then I got this in a parcel maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago maybe, from Pretty Little Thing, and it's just this nude thing. So I'd say any nude thing, just put it in the middle to add that. Yeah, that's really it. It looks a bit darker than usual. I think I put too much of the dark brown, but it's fine. And then I might put my e.l.f. lip oil on top to make it a bit shinier, but for now this is fine. Fine. Okay. What was I talking about, guys? What was I talking about? Don't entertain any worldly pleasures as well that would affect your perception of God. The reason I say this is because worldly pleasures could literally be like scrolling on TikTok for so long. I think that could also make you desire the world more, which I think I had transparently had that experience this year, and I think it made me think that God is like someone that's just stopping me from doing what I want. So that's what that's what I mean when I say worldly pleasures can stop you from desiring God, or also affect your perception of him. Because instead of seeing him as a loving father, I saw him as somebody who's like taking things away from me that I could have, because I thought, oh, there's more freedom, or like there's more things that worldly people can do, when it's like so not true. So not true at all. Do something new in my life. Something new in my life. I'm gonna take a little bit out. Something new in my life. Oh, the last one that we're gonna stick with is that the Lord actually likes jaiye. That's just for lack of better words. He likes fun. And I say that because of the things that he's actually blessed me with this year and given me. I've had so many great opportunities and events that I've been to that have been so fun. I guess to speak in chronological order, I would speak of the premieres that I've been blessed enough to go to this year that have been so fun. I actually love watching movies. I think at first I went for the hype of, you know, let's get them pictures, let's like, yeah, we got to show people that were like in these premieres. And obviously the Lord G-shared me, which I think I shared multiple times, in terms of how my view of success was really centered around pride. But I think I began to see that I actually genuinely like watching movies, especially because they are faith-based movies that are actually meaningful, and I actually really enjoy premieres now. So I've been to like 4 or 5 this year, and they've all been insanely amazing. And yes, I get great pictures, of course, but apart from that, I think I really enjoy the process of actually being there. So the biggest one was The Chosen in January, which was insane. It was honestly so great. And then besides that, I just feel like well, of course, going to California was like the best thing of my life. Cool moments this year was Mercy and David's proposal, Mercy and David's wedding. Absolutely insane. Like, I just think, I love fun things. Like, I just love looking back on moments and saying that was so fun. And like, especially things that you won't get again. Like, you won't get, like, Mercy and David aren't going to get married again. The fact that I just get to see that as a moment in time, have pictures to remind myself, memories, and just know that I went there and actually had the time of my life, and I actually decided, yes, I'm going to have a great time. Not shying away from the fact that the Lord actually wants you to enjoy the things that he's giving you. He gave me Mercy as a friend, so I was able to enjoy her wedding. He gave me this career that I'm building, so I'm able to enjoy these premieres. So I should live in the fruit of that labor. Again, the staycation, so fun, so fun. I hope you guys enjoy my look today. Bit different than usual, but I hope it was fun. I will see you guys in the next video.